Hello everyone, this is a voiceover for 4 rounds that I've played with a new team. I sped up the video by 2, which I hope will be good enough, like understandable what's happening. So we have my usual Tauros Latios, but we also have a Metagross here. And I wanted to use a Metagross because we had a bit of a discussion on Riley's Discord about Metagross, and I'm a bit of a Metagross hater because Meteor Mash, in my opinion, is a terrible move. 15% to miss is 15% to lose. And I don't want to lose, so I don't like the move. And without Meteor Mash, Metagross doesn't have a stab move, and without a stab move, you're not as strong as you would like to be, or as strong as you would think you are. So I came up with something a little bit different. Still very relatively standard Metagross stuff. We have Shadow Ball, Earthquake, Endure with Salac Berry, and Explosion last. So the idea of this team, my Tauros is a very strong lead Pokemon. Usually takes out one Pokemon and it's very fast, so it deals damage to the next Pokemon. And then if it dies, that means the next Pokemon is very weak. So if possible, which in this first game here is not possible, we want to switch into Metagross, finish off the last Pokemon, and explode on the last. And that's then we win. Or at least that's the plan. Here of course against Charizard, I could do it because we do have the Endure to outspeed. The only thing that we don't outspeed at +1 is Jolteon 4, which is the fastest Pokemon. Everything else, as long as they don't have any boosts, they're all slower. So that's pretty nice. And of course, it's not always possible. Like, here we're gonna see another reason why it doesn't always work. I killed this Heracross, I think. Yeah. Don't quite remember what I did, but I'm gonna kill it. At some point. But yeah, it's of course not always as straightforward as that, but in this case, Metagross is basically a win more button. And then we still have the Latios as well, which we have to switch into fighting type leads, except for Heracross. We don't switch into Heracross. I think Double Edge here is probably the correct play, because the one with Salac Berry dies. And this one was really bulky, but it didn't have Salac Berry, so that's fine. So here, I know this is a fighting fire type trainer, so it's likely that there can be a fire type in the back. But Metagross doesn't really do anything as the last Pokemon, and Latios probably 1v1s anyway, so I'm gonna try to blow up. Except things don't quite go according to plan. So I go for the Endure here. And Overheat misses. Now this doesn't actually matter, because Arcanine has extreme speed, so it would kill me anyway. But that's one of the downsides of Endure. There's gonna be another example of where I endured and it didn't go according to plan. So yeah. We endured and we failed. I thought there was like one set of Arcanine that maybe has extreme speed. Turns out it's 3 of them. And all of them have Overheat, I think. So I was not gonna win anyway. But as long as we don't get crit, it's fine. Well, we got crit earlier, but as long as we don't get crit on the Latios. Because we do a bit over 50%. We live, now we would need to get hit by crit extreme speed. Arcanine didn't even go for the extreme speed, because it didn't see the kill. So it turned out fine. But yeah, basically all of the, or well, at least both Tauros and Latios, because they are strong and fast, they're very good at killing a thing and then wounding, like getting the other Pokemon, the next Pokemon, very low. Of course, it depends a bit on the matchup. This one's Quick Claw Metagross. And I decide I don't want to die to Quick Claw, so I switch out to my own Metagross. Eventually. And luckily we don't get Quick Clawed. I don't know if we could have died. Only I think Quick Claw crit maybe. Don't remember if this one has Earthquake. So yeah, Metagross is... I don't like Metagross. But it's a really strong Pokemon. And of course, when the opponent has it, it's always a very dangerous Pokemon. But yeah, they don't care as much about the Meteor Mash accuracy. Because they only need to win once. And we need to win every time. So then it's not as good. Oh, here... something's gonna go wrong here. We're in a 3v1, so I decide I want to explode for fun. This is Bright Powder Articuno. And I don't need to explode, but I figured, why not? We're so far ahead, we're probably not gonna lose. And then it protects. Oops. So yeah, that's something you also need to watch out for. It didn't happen again. There was one situation where I explode on a Salamence. And I was afraid that the Salamence might have Protect as well, but there's only one Salamence with Protect, and otherwise I would have to endure to Scout, and there's multiple with Flamethrower and they could burn me and then I die. But that's for later. But yeah, Metagross is a very strong Pokemon. You have really good stats, 600 base stat total, 130 defense, I think 130 or 130 attack, I think 135 defense. Something like that. Something insane. You have good bulk. Oh no, it's 135 attack, 130 defense. So I guess I was correct initially. So you have some insane attack, you have good bulk, 90 special defense, 80 HP, which is fine. And we still have a 95 special attack, which is pretty strong, but of course not as good compared to our 135 attack. And we also have great typing, and Clear Body is an amazing ability. Here we get frozen. Unlucky. So I decide to attack. I know I won't kill, but if he freezes me again or he gets a crit, I'm just screwed, so I need some damage. It was a roll to kill. We get the roll, but he gets the focus band. But we live, so it's fine. There was quite a bit of hacks, but we did make it through. I guess this is Stall Sceptile, who probably only has Leaf Blade, so it couldn't kill me. Leech Seed, Detect, Leaf Blade, something. So yeah, these battles are going pretty quick. Of course it's 2 times speed, but the rounds themselves were relatively quick. I was quite tired when I played, so I could have played a lot faster. And better. There are some silly misplays here or there. But everything's fine in the end. We get the crit. I think it could have lived. Depending on the set. I was kind of afraid of Salac Berry, but I probably would have just switched to Metagross. Because we don't die to Explosion, we don't care about Icy Wind, that sort of stuff. But yeah, Metagross has great stats, but because Meteor Mash is like 15% chance to lose or to miss, which isn't always immediately a loss, but if you're in a tough battle, you need to hit. So if I were to use Metagross, I would not want to click Meteor Mash, and Meteor Mash is by far your strongest move. So if you don't want to click your best move, Like, then what's the point of having the best move? So we don't have it here. I was initially planning to use Metagross, or I wasn't expecting to use Metagross in doubles first because Explosion is pretty good there. But because of this discussion, I ended up coming up with this. And here we can see the kind of lack in damage. We don't have stab on Earthquake, so we don't kill the Clefable. And it just keeps healing. Of course, it doesn't really matter that much. Here I'm checking, I was talking in voice chat, I was in Discord streaming this as well. I was like, yeah, I'm max attack Adamant, guys, I just don't do more damage than this. We're not choice banded, of course, but yeah, even with a choice band, I think you miss out on a lot of kills. And here, Pharaoh, the only move I have to hit Pharaoh is Explosion. Which is funny. Pharaoh is my goat, of course. Strongest Pokemon in the frontier. But yeah, Metagross, it's really good, but it's also just a little bit shy of getting the Okos a lot of the time. And you're not that fast, so that means if you don't one-shot, you get hit twice, potentially. Which isn't great. Here I switched into Metagross by accident. I'm used to Latios being in the second slot. So I figured, well, at this point I might as well blow up on this. Before it gets out of hand. Crit is obviously not needed. Yeah, so with Clear Body we cannot be intimidated, so we always have a very strong Explosion. I'm not sure if there's any Intimidate Pokemon that would live Explosion if I was -1. It's such a strong move, I kinda doubt it. Here we got a ribbon for Metagross because it's the first time I used it. The other two, of course, I've used many times, so they already had one. A slight change from my previous combination of Tauros Latios. The Tauros is Jolly this time. And the last while I've been using Adamant. But I wanted at least one of them to be fast enough to outspeed like Starmie, Dugtrio, Sceptile to a lesser degree. And I was debating like who do I want to be faster, because they don't want to lose the damage output that they have, because I'm gonna miss out on kills no matter what. But in the end I decided Tauros should go Jolly, because otherwise Latios, like, it's already modest, it's a roll to kill Machamp. Like it's 87.5 or something to kill most of them. And if I go Timid, then I don't kill them. Or very small chance. So that's pretty much why. Also, Latios doesn't one-shot Starmie, or at least not guaranteed. At least if you're faster, you can just Calm Mind before you get hit. But if you get crit by an Ice Beam, then it's still game over, probably. Here with Dugtrio, here we're gonna fail again. I checked if it's actually Arena Trap, because it's 50-50. So it's like, does Dugtrio actually do enough damage to activate my Salac Berry? I'm not sure. But I end up going for Endure and it doesn't activate my Salac Berry. So that was a bit unfortunate. And then I should have gone for Endure again, because it's still 50% chance to activate. But I didn't, because I wasn't really paying attention. So I should have at least tried for the 50-50. But yeah, it got a low roll. And it was just a bit short. So I'm like, oh, that didn't go according to plan. But it's fine. We outspeed now. Dugtrio is dangerous because, of course, it has Fissure, but it also has King's Rock. So even though Latios is immune to Fissure, I can just get King's Rocked and then I lose anyway. But luckily, the team is strong enough to get through this. Yeah, this is a lot more of a fast-paced team compared to a lot of the other teams I've used. Which I've been wanting to use more of the fast-paced teams. Because they're probably more interesting to watch, I think. And also, they're just fun to play. And not as draining. But they're also very prone to RNG. They can very easily lose. I don't think you can make a hyper-offensive team that isn't vulnerable to RNG. And with slower, more stally teams, you have a more reliable way of dealing with RNG. This Dustclops was a bit of a pain. Because of course it went for Pain Split to heal itself. Now I can no longer kill it. I have to Calm Mind. I still don't kill it now. But it goes for Confuse Ray. I have a Lum Berry, so it's fine for now. But now I have to attack, because if it goes for Confuse Ray again, then if I hit myself I didn't deal any damage. And luckily it went for Seismic Toss, so we get to attack a second time. Otherwise, maybe I needed to switch. Well, no, I don't think I could switch. Because if I switch to Metagross, I might switch in on a Will-O-Wisp. But we would have probably been fine. Another issue with the team... Oh, here's the first Latios lead. We run into like 5 Lati leads this recording. And here I just went for damage. And it works out because it's... Latios went for Calm Mind. And I think the next time I get paralyzed, and after that I decide I'm gonna switch into Metagross every time. I'm also switching into Metagross here, I think. Because I don't want to get paralyzed on the Tauros. Tauros is pretty much useless if it gets paralyzed. And we get paralyzed here. And Earthquake... I don't know, I'm not sure if it kills. I think it doesn't. Maybe it does. Maybe I can calc it right now, real quick. Ampharos. Yeah, there's 2 where I have a chance to kill. And 2 that always live. So I think Boom there was a good play. Although it doesn't really matter too much. And a nice thing about when I switch to Metagross and Boom, especially if it's like the last Pokemon, like they only have 1 Pokemon left, I always go to Tauros first, so I always have an Intimidate on the last Pokemon. Assuming I still have Tauros left and there's a choice between Tauros and Latios. Here's another Latios. There were a couple in succession. Like it was 2 in a row here, and then a few battles later there's another one. Then there's another one, and then there's a Latios. And Bright Powder, of course. Bright Powder is a thing. We have Lum Berry, so here the Thunder Wave doesn't matter. I hope the recording isn't lagging as much for you guys as it is for me. I think my PC is struggling. Let me close my browsers. And OBS. Okay, here I'm trying to figure out... Like, I'm not sure if I 2-shot with Psychic. I think I need to Calm Mind, but I want to do some damage first. But we get a crit. So it didn't matter. But yeah, the plan was Psychic, then Calm Mind. Then Psychic again. Just in case something happens RNG-wise. Like I get frozen. or crit by Ice Beam. Like some of them have Ice Beam. I don't know if this one did. And here's Lapras, which of course is very fat. And here I'm thinking, do I just explode on this? And it's Sing Lapras, and I'm like, uh-oh. I know one of the Oko Laprases has Sing, but we wake up in time. And we explode. And goodbye Lapras. One of the few moves that can actually one-shot a Lapras. Because even Zapdos Thunder with Magnet, modest max investment, you are not guaranteed to kill bulky Lapras. I'm not sure if it's even a roll on the bulky one. So here Charizard, Bright Powder of course, great. But last time we faced Charizard we were locked into return. This time it's the first Pokemon we could choose Double Edge, and that's always a one-shot. Just barely, but it's always a one-shot. And I figure if I one-shot Charizard then I probably one-shot Blaziken, so let's just go for it. And last Swampert, we just deal some damage. Go down, that's fine. Did a lot of work. And easy finish off here. Yeah, the collectors in the highest rounds only have starters. Which, I don't know. It's not the strongest, they're not the strongest Pokemon, but they also, like, they have Hex items and stuff, so not the greatest. We one-shot with Double Edge. We one-shot most of them. I think there's only one, even though we're Jolly instead of Adamant. Switch on the Earthquake, very nice. And here we get quite fortunate. We get a freeze. And on the next turn, Golem gets a Quick Claw. And he was probably going for Explosion. But because we got the freeze, that it didn't happen. And Manectric, who we're gonna one-shot with a crit. Probably just barely lives without, but it doesn't really matter. We got our own little bit of luck as payback for all the Bright Powders and stuff that's been happening. So here's the first Fighting Leap that isn't a Heracross. So we go to Latios. But it didn't go for Cross Chop, it was actually Bulk Up. I thought it was gonna live. Because there's one Machamp that I'm pretty sure always lives or almost always lives. And I thought, well, if it's Bulk Up, it's probably this one, but apparently not. And here I'm trying to figure out, do I just Thunderbolt? Or do I Calm Mind? And decide I don't want to get crit by Ice Beam, so I just go for the Thunderbolt. And we got a good roll. So I go for the 2-shot. And we get it. We're not guaranteed to 2-shot Vaporeon. Lapras is back. This time I just go for the Thunderbolt. Get hit by the Sheer Cold. This time it was Sheer Cold Lapras. I'm like, uh-oh. Let's boom on this. I'm not sure if Tauros was strong enough to kill from here. Metagross definitely wasn't without booming. Maybe it would have been better to just Earthquake. I'm not sure. Does the... No, actually Sheer Cold never has Bright Powder. Never mind. It's either Quick Claw or it's... what is it? Lepa Berry? I think it's Lepa Berry. Or maybe it's Chesto Berry. It's a berry, I think. With Casino Lapras, with only Oko moves and Rest Sleep Talk. So yeah, I think Explosion is correct. And of course we cannot explode if we go in with Tauros first. So I tried for that first. There's another Latios. And this is where I start using Metagross to switch in. We get Thunder Waved again. But we're already pretty slow, so we don't care as much. Of course, this means we cannot abuse our Salac Berry. Which happens quite a few times that we end up paralyzed. So now I'm trying to decide, do I try to kill this with Shadow Ball? Or do I just explode immediately and not risk losing to paralysis? And we get paralyzed turn 1, which is the same thing that happened with Tauros last time. But at least this time we get a crit. So that was nice. In comes Regis, and I thought that the Latios was Bright Powder. It turns out Regis was Bright Powder, and I was incorrect. There's multiple Thunderwave Dragonclaw Latioses, and only one of them is Bright Powder. So that was fun. That's definitely a big weakness of this strategy. Focus Band, Bright Powder, Protect. If you explode on that, then, well, you just lost something. For nothing. Of course, we were already very low, so we couldn't really do much. Like, if we had gone for Shadow Ball, we would have just been killed on the next turn anyway. Or I guess I would have gone for Earthquake, that's slightly stronger. So now I'm trying to decide, do I return or do I double edge? I'm not sure if I go double edge I deal more damage, but which is good because then maybe Latios can kill with Psychic if I get good rolls. But also I take recoil damage, so maybe Regis kills me. And with return Regis doesn't kill me, so what do I go for? And I decide to go for return in the end. And I get a crit. Once again, we have bad RNG and then we get some good RNG. So we've been lucky so far. Well, I don't know if you would call it lucky really normally, but for me this is the frontier. This is good luck. And here we get Agility Swaggart. I'm like, uh-oh. But we don't hit ourselves in confusion. But then Focus Band. Great. We went from Bright Powder to Focus Band. That's fun. And now I've hit myself. I'm definitely dying, but we snap out very early. So another bit of good luck. And no second Focus Band. But Latios, I'm pretty sure, would have lived a Blizzard. Actually, I'm not completely sure. Maybe this is... I'm used to like doubles where Blizzard deals no damage, so... who knows? Here, Jolly actually comes into play for Tauros. Because this is Agility Scissor, and if I was Adamant, it would now outspeed me. But we're Jolly, so we're a little bit faster. At least I'm pretty sure I would have been outsped. In comes Heracross. We're locked into Earthquake, which isn't gonna deal any damage. And it's not intimidated, so it could probably one-shot me. So we go to Metagross. We get hit by a crit. Luckily, we survived. Get the Salac Berry, so now we're faster. Goodbye. Luckily, no Focus Band or Bright Powder this time. I think we could have been one-shot depending on, like, if it got a high roll and if it was a strong Heracross, which I'm not sure if this one could have gotten that roll. And last is Parasect, who cannot touch Latios. Because it's Giga Drain, which is only 5 PP, and then it's Dig, which we're levitating. So even if we got some horrible RNG with the Tauros, we would always win here. On to the Pokefan with a Dunsparce. I'm like, uh-oh. This isn't Glare Headbutt, right? Because that set exists and that's... oh, that's devious. I want to use something like that at some point. I think Dunsparce is like a funny Pokemon. Here we miss. This is not Bright Powder, by the way. This is Lax Incense. That's a 5% chance to miss. So thanks for that. Luckily, we did not get frozen by the Serene Grace Ice Beam. 20% chance. So that's a little bit of compensation for missing with Lax Incense. Absol, easy one-shot. Absol is also choice band, but we're faster. And then Dugong. Ooh, we almost one-shot. We dodge Sheer Cold and finish it off. With a crit, which did not matter at all. So yeah, Alakazam, we just barely get the guaranteed one-shot with, I think, return. Yeah, it's like 100.7% or something. Even with Jolly, so that's nice. Blaziken, I wasn't sure, like we one-shot with Double Edge. I wasn't so sure about one-shotting with return, so we switch into Latios. On an overheat, that's fine. Doesn't do that much damage. And Psychic obviously kills. Blaziken is not that tanky. And then a Jinx, which it's gonna take a while to kill this, but it doesn't really do anything to us. Goes for a substitute. So like, what is this set? It's the bulky one. It's not the Perish Song one, but which one is this? And it's actually Dream Eater, which is why it isn't attacking us. And we get some interesting RNG. It gets Quick Claw Lovely Kiss, which is interesting. But that means we immediately burn our guaranteed turn of sleep. And then we wake up the next turn, so it never got to use Dream Eater. So that was interesting. Alright, into another fighting lead with Hariyama. And Hariyama, there's one really bulky set, which always lives, but the other three always die. You get hit by a cross chop. Not that much damage because of Intimidate. If it crit, we would still easily live. So that's not that big of a deal. Here I'm like, well, I can probably just click Psychic, right? We have an advantage. And then I get Mirror Coated, I'm like, probably should have gone for Calm Mind. Although, if I get crit by an Ice Beam, that's bad. So this is, I guess, a fine play. But I wasn't really happy about losing Latios. But it doesn't really matter because it still did the job of killing one, weakening the other, or the next thing. And here we're Jolly, so we actually outspeed if this is max speed Starmie. And we still one-shot with Double Edge. I'm wondering, do I ever switch to Metagross? Because I can only boom if Tauros is still alive. But I figured if this is tanky Starmie, like it's gonna Thunder Wave probably. And we already did a lot of damage, so we would probably win from there. Here's another all legendary trainer. Entei, we're gonna run into more Entei later. We just barely do not kill. If we're Adamant, we have a chance to kill. But with Jolly, we never kill. That's unfortunate. But it went for Solar Beam. I don't know why. It has Flamethrower, which would deal a decent amount of damage. Welcome back, Regice. We're gonna go to Metagross. Get Thunder Waved again. We get Thunder Waved a lot. But it kind of makes sense because Tauros is really fast, so if a Pokemon has Thunder Wave, it's probably gonna click Thunder Wave. So Metagross ends up being the one Thunder Waved. And Articuno is back as well. Welcome back. I was like, well, at least the Hail is gonna chip the next Pokemon when it was exploding. And then comes out the only other Ice type this trainer could have had. Of course. Sets up Reflect, but it's too late. I did too much damage. We just return and kill it. So yeah, more legendaries. There were quite a few legendaries, but then there were also quite a few rounds in a short time, so I'm not sure if there were really that many legendaries. It was mostly just, it was all the same legendaries, which is interesting. And it wasn't Regirock or Registeel, which I think are like difficult matchups for this team. So I was hoping I would run into them because I wanted to see like how bad is it really. But we never got to find out. Here I was wondering, like the Quagsire, one of them has counter. So I was thinking about that. And I was also thinking, if it's cursed and it curses, if I go for return, it's gonna be too tanky for me to kill. So I have the double edge here. And it turned out to be curse. So if we had gone for return, we would not have killed with the second hit. Hariyama comes in, we switch. It's not intimidated this time, we still take it very well. So it's like, and it lives, so this was the bulky one. This is why we didn't take as much damage, because this was about the same as last time, and last time it was intimidated. So that explains why. Quick Claw from the Gyarados sets up Brain Dance, which doesn't matter at all. And we one-shot with Thunderbolt with a crit. I don't think it mattered on this one, because I think this one is mixed attacker. But there's a max HP, max special defense Gyarados, and that one can survive. So we're at 168 wins. On to the last round of this video. I wanted to face Annabelle. So I figured I'd do another one. And usually, like, if I win at least 3 rounds and one of them is Annabelle, Gold, and it's a successful team. And now we're doing this already 4th round, so it's been pretty successful. Regice is back again. Of course it is. I saw the guy and I was like, oh, he could have Regis, and there was Regice again. I really wanted to face Registeel or Regirock because they can live an Earthquake from both Tauros and Metagross. And they can have counter, they can have explosion. Like if it's counter turn 1 kills Tauros, then explodes on my next Pokemon, that would be horrible. I think that's an option. Probably there's... I know there's at least one set that has counter explosion. I'm not sure if it's Quick Claw though. So in comes Armaldo. I'm not sure what do I do here, because there's one with Choice Band, and if I switch into Metagross and it locks into Earthquake, that's just a one-shot. And if I switch into Latios and I tank a Choice Band Rock Slide or whatever, that's gonna be a lot of damage. So here I'm like, well, what do I want to do? I'm not sure if it's Quick Claw or not. It could be... It's 50-50 at this point. There's 2 sets that have Ancient Power. One is Quick Claw, one isn't. It's the same with Rock Slide. One set with Quick Claw and one that doesn't have it. But at least I know it's not Choice Band, because that is Rock Slide. So I take a while trying to figure out what do I do, because I don't kill... Like 2 Earthquakes from Metagross, it's a roll to kill at this point, so I didn't really want to do that, because this Armaldo could have Earthquake. And it could be Quick Claw. And I think Quick Claw probably has Earthquake, I'm not sure, I don't quite remember. But I decide to go Latios. I decide not to set up a Calm Mind, just in case I get Quick Clawed. Like if that Iron Tail had hit, dropped my defense, this is Quick Claw, so it could have gotten a Quick Claw this turn, then I die. Or even if it just gets 2 high rolls, I think I still die. And then Cradily, I probably should have gone for Calm Mind, because one of them has Mirror Coat, I'm pretty sure. But it wouldn't really matter that much. Like, Latios would die, but I'm pretty sure Metagross wins. But yeah, I probably should have Calm Minded first. Because there's no way it one-shots Latios, I think. Nelson is back, the legendary ranger. Entei is also back. We're gonna go for another Earthquake. And we are gonna get pretty much the same damage roll, which is actually like pretty much max damage here. We never kill, unfortunately. I don't know which set this was, but there is Bright Powder, so we got at least fortunate we didn't run into that. Dragonite comes in. I have Ice Beam. But Dragon Claw is gonna deal a lot of damage. Kinda underestimated that. Maybe I should have switched to Metagross, I'm not sure. Because crit would have been really bad there. And in comes Moltres. We never one-shot Moltres, I think. We're not Zapdos. And yeah, now it's just easy to finish off. Sorry if you heard those Discord notifications. Those were mine. But now you shouldn't hear any anymore. So yeah, more of the same legendaries, except Moltres was new. Heracross is back. Here I again decide to double edge. Because double edge kills the one that is Salac Berry. And if it's another one, I should live because of the Intimidate, so I should be fine. But of course there's also Bright Powder, there's Focus Band, like there's Endure, but that's the Salac Berry and they don't endure at max HPs from my understanding. Which I've only recently learned. So that makes it a little bit more comfortable to play against, because I was really afraid of Endure. But apparently they just don't use it at max HP, which makes some sense. Because in a lot of situations they wouldn't get one shot. Just like how I used Endure on Metagross against the Duck Trio. And I shouldn't have. I should have been like the AI. Alright, so we're up against, what was it, Claydol? Yeah, Claydol. And I'm like, well, do I want to play into Earthquake with Metagross? And yes, because I want to be able to explode on the last Pokemon. Here we get to Endure. Finally. We get the speed boost. And Charizard is not the fastest Pokemon. So we get to explode. And we saw the white herb, so we know it's not Bright Powder, we know it's not Focus Band. So we finally got to do Salac Explosion after a long time. Right, Blastoise. Like, does this guy have counter? No. Pedro only has one Blastoise and it has Mirror Coat. But of course, it does also have Focus Band. Also, like, does Torrent matter? No, Torrent doesn't matter. It shouldn't kill me. But it gets the crit, so it does kill me. Unlucky. Here I'm like, who do I go to now? I want to go to Metagross because if it's, like I've said earlier, if it's my last Pokemon, I cannot use my explosion. So I really want to explode. Or I really want to send it out to be able to use explosion, but I don't know, it's also risky. It's not the best Pokemon. So I decide Thunderbolt on Latios. And here's a Tentacruel. And I'm pretty sure Tentacruel has survived Psychic before, so I'm gonna Calm Mind. And I don't want to get Mirror Coated, and it did actually go for Mirror Coat, so that could have killed me. But now we're in a really good spot at +1. And last is for Alligator, which we just Thunderbolt and kill. I was also worried if I went to Metagross immediately and I explode on the second Mon, then it's a 1v1 with Latios, and Latios is strong, but this trainer has some bulky Pokemon. I think he even gets Blissey. I think he's the normal type swimmer. So that would not be great for me. I'm like, I'm not sure if Earthquake is gonna kill because we're not adamant, and it's a roll. Well, I think one is guaranteed and the others are 50%. And like, I also don't want to switch in on like Earthquake to Metagross or like Horn Drill or Mega Horn or Sludge Bomb crit if I go to Latios, so we just go for the Earthquake. We get the roll if it was one. Out comes Gengar. We obviously cannot Earthquake a Gengar. So I decide let's go to Metagross. However, this turns out to be quite the annoying. It's physical Gengar, so we get a nice switch in on a Sludge Bomb. Very nice. But then it confuses me. And then it also has Will-O-Wisp. So what I should have done here is switch into Latios. Because I have Lum Berry. I don't really care. But the thing is, I'm kind of scared of like switching into a Shadow Ball crit. So maybe what I did was correct. I'm not completely sure. But we end up killing it in the end, even though we're burned. And we would one-shot if we weren't burned. And I, in the voice chat I was like, okay, last Pokemon is gonna be something tanky like Umbreon. And there's Umbreon. Which we don't kill because of the burn. But that's fine. We still have 2 Pokemon. It is Bright Powder. Otherwise it would have healed with leftovers. But luckily we don't miss. But we were very likely to win, even with a couple of misses. Even if the explosion missed. And Dragon Tamer, and a little bit of variety here. Not Latios lead, but Latios lead for once. But we're gonna do the same thing. Gonna switch in on a Psychic. Take almost no damage. Double resist, of course. Thunderbolt, which deals less than 50%. I'm like, do I always live the next hit? Like, could it high roll and kill me? And I decided, I don't think so. So let's just Shadow Ball. We easily survive. Kill the Latias. Now we get our Salac Berry again. Here's the Salamence I was talking about at the start. I'm like, if this has Protect, then we just explode for no reason. But there's only one with Protect. And there's multiple with Flamethrower. So it's like, if I endure and I get burnt, then I kind of just screwed myself over. Let's just go for it. We have Ice Beam in the back, it doesn't matter. And there's another Dragonite. We didn't run into any Tyrannitars, which also would have been an interesting matchup. Because we don't kill with Earthquake. And there's a bunch of them with Hex items. And yeah. Would have liked to see that matchup as well. But we did not run into it. And finally, we've made it all the way to Annabelle. Battle 175. I'm like, I've not done this fight with Jolly before, I think. So like, do I play it the same way? And yeah, I should get all the damage rolls. So we just go for Return here. If we're lucky, it goes for Calm Mind. But it goes for Thunderbolt. I guess worst case scenario, it goes for Reflect. That's probably an option. But yeah, now it means that Latios is always gonna go for the kill. But it's okay. We didn't miss due to Bright Powder, so we're fine. Even if we did miss, we're probably still fine. So now I go immediately to Metagross. And then on the Snorlax, we're just gonna explode. It's not Bright Powder. It doesn't have Quick Claw. It's just a free win if we end up with Explosion against, or with Metagross against the Snorlax and we still have Latios. So yeah, boom. And goodbye Snorlax, goodbye Annabelle. We have a pretty good matchup. But we could lose to Bright Powder, basically. But yeah, that was the team. A bit of a change of pace compared to my stall teams. And I'm hoping to do more of these aggressive teams. Like, I've been planning to build something like this for a while. I just didn't really get around to it. But now that I'm doing like not as many videos, like I didn't upload for a few days now. So that means I had some time to do this, which was nice. And I hope you guys enjoyed a more aggressive team in singles. Like my doubles teams are really aggressive, which is why I like them as well. But there it's like the meta, I feel like, to be really aggressive. because you can't play, you can't really play safe. Like you just have to take them out before they do something to you. Like when 2 Pokemon can attack 1 Pokemon, there's no way you're stalling that reliably. But in singles you can, of course. In open level it's harder because of Tyranitar with the Sandstorm. So I think aggressive teams are better there than in level 50. I mean, they're pretty much equally as good, but stall is worse. That's more how it is than them actually being better. But yeah, I intend to play more aggressive teams, especially in open level. I'm not sure what the next team is gonna be. Might not be as serious. This is a relatively serious team, I suppose. I mean, it's just... I started with the Metagross, and I'm like, how do I make the Metagross somewhat reliable, not have Meteor Mash? And I came up with the strategy of, well, if I finish off... If I take down like 1.5 Pokemon with my lead, which Tauros usually does, so that's how I came back to my usual combo of Tauros Latios. I was also thinking about maybe Gengar, and Gengar could also have like Destiny Bond or Perish Song, or even both in case I ran into like a Blissey and couldn't kill it. I don't know, but that didn't sound quite as good. So it was Tauros, Latios, and then the Metagross. And so far it has worked out relatively well, but as you saw, if you were watching, there were quite a few things like bright powders, focus bands, that sort of stuff, so we could very easily lose to something like that. But if your goal is like gold, this team is extremely powerful. If your goal is 100, this team is still quite reliable. You can, maybe you won't get there first try, but it's a very fast team, so it's not as frustrating to lose, I think. Like if you have like the other teams that I use where it's like 2 hours for a round sometimes, that's more devastating maybe if you lose than compared to this where you maybe take like 20-30 minutes for a round. And I think it's quite fun. And Explosion is like a fun move to use. It's strong when it hits. Let's go with that. It's yeah, probably in doubles I will use an Explosion team again at some point, but because of Bright Powder and Focus Band and I guess occasionally Protect, it's not the best, but it is nice to have. It's a good in like really horrible situations where you get like one chance to do something and you can just explode and remove a really powerful Pokemon. It is a nice tool to have. So yeah, I think that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about the team. I think this is a more reliable way of using Metagross. Is it the best way? Probably not. But maybe, who knows. You could... I don't know if you could use some different items. Because like I did get Thunder Waved a lot, but that was largely in part because I switched out of Tauros, who was super fast. And if you give it like a Lum Berry, which in this case was on my Latios, but let's say you don't have it on another Pokemon, or you have like a Cherry Berry, then you don't have the Salac Berry, and then you just get a lot worse into other Pokemon. So I don't know, I think this is probably, for this set, this is pretty good. And it worked pretty well. It was fun to use. And yeah, playing fast in singles is a nice change of pace. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.